Well, friends, we continue to follow the events on the front lines of Ukraine and Russia, as well as the news. And right away, I would like to congratulate the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny, on his birthday and wish him victory in the coming year. I think that's what he desires the most. Make sure to share your thoughts on this in the comments. Today we also have some good news regarding the transfer of new equipment to Ukraine. But before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Today marks exactly 500 days of full-scale war in Ukraine, a terrifying number. Ukraine has been enduring against such a formidable enemy for a long time. On this occasion, the President of Ukraine shared a video expressing his gratitude to all the defenders who have been protecting Ukraine during these difficult times. Now let's move on to some good news. It has been reported that a new package of assistance from the United States has been announced, amounting to $800 million, which will include long-awaited cluster munition. Ukraine has provided written assurance that it will minimize the risk to civilians. This package will also include a significant number of armored vehicles, projectiles for HIMARS, and much more. You can read the full list by pausing this video. However, Germany will not supply cluster munitions to Ukraine as it has signed a convention banning the production and use of this type of weapon, as stated by the German Minister of Defense Boris Pistorius on Friday in Bern. Let me briefly explain how cluster munitions work. Cluster munitions are similar to conventional ones, following a traditional flight trajectory. At a designated area and time, an ejected charge separates the submunitions from the container. The submunitions fall to the ground, and some can glide with parachutes, ribbons, or pedals. The submunitions have target extinguish sub capabilities, explode at a certain distance from the target, or ignite upon impact. The most important thing is for them to reach Ukraine as soon as possible, because all this equipment is necessary for the counter-offensive that is planned to take place by the end of the summer. If not, the autumn rains and snowy winter will delay the new counter-offensive for almost another year. And during this time, the Russians will be able to fortify their positions even further, making the liberation of the territory even bloodier than it is now. It is also reported that Ukraine and Slovakia have signed a contract for joint production of 155mm howitzers. Now let's move on to the situation on the front lines, starting with the Bakhmut direction. Despite all the difficulties, including Russian advances and shelling, the Ukrainian armed forces are gradually moving forward. While Prigozhin was capturing Bakhmut, the Ukrainian armed forces were successfully destroying a significant number of Russian forces, and now, after a brief pause, they have resumed the destruction of Russian troops. The Ukrainian armed forces are not only pushing forward but also liberating the city, forcing the Russians to gather everything they can in Bakhmut to defend their positions. Their plan was to approach Kramatorsk and Slavyansk from two sides. But as we can see, everything is going according to the plan of the Ukrainian armed forces, and the tide is gradually turning. The situation in the Svatovo area is also challenging. Unfortunately, the Russians have managed to make advances here multiple times. Yesterday, there were reports of their advance by 3 kilometers across the fields towards Novogrigorivka. Now there are ongoing battles for Kramazinka. Will they be able to hold the defense? We will find out soon. However, the Russians are making significant advances in this direction after a long lull. This must be acknowledged, but the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to reduce their offensive potential by targeting their depots and bases. Yesterday, late in the evening, there was another greeting to the occupied Sukhodolsk in the Lugansk region. In the Kreminna and Siversk area, the situation remains stable for now. Neither side is conducting offensive actions, and the Russians continue their heavy shelling. In the Dvorichna area, the situation remains unchanged, with the Russians only conducting shelling without any offensive actions. In Liman, today there are reports of shelling. As of now, the death toll has risen to 8, with 13 injured. In the Avdiivka direction, attacks continue and the number of shelling incidents remains high. Although attacks on the outskirts of the city have ceased, there has been a resumption of offensive actions in Pervomaysk. Here, the Russians, with artillery support, are attempting to break through the Ukrainian armed forces' positions. However, the situation is under control and the front line remains unchanged over the course of the day. Further south in Mariinka, there are ongoing battles and a significant number of shelling incidents. However, the front line has remained stable in this area for a long time. Attacks on Novomykhailivka also continue for another day, but the Ukrainian armed forces and all units are successfully advancing. In the Vuhledar direction, there are numerous shelling incidents, but surprisingly, the Ukrainian armed forces haven't conducted any offensive actions for several days. The Russians are concentrating their forces and equipment to defend the area. The situation is tense but unchanged for now. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, shelling continues as well. Currently, it is the only thing the Russians can do to hinder the Ukrainian armed forces' counteroffensive. However, there have been no reported attacks in this area, and the Russians are actively deploying their forces and equipment in the occupied territory. There are also reports of movements of Russian forces and military equipment in the direction of Berdyansk, Vuhledar and Pologi. As reported by the advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, a large number of Russians have arrived in the entire territory of the Mariupol region, 7,000 to 10,000 more than before. This indicates their strong determination to defend their positions during the counteroffensive. During the night, Russia launched an attack on Kryvyi Rih using drones. Hits were reported on an agricultural enterprise. A 26-year-old man was injured and hospitalized in a moderate condition. 2 fires broke out simultaneously, affecting a total area of 360 square meters. Firefighters managed to bring the situation under control. Several warehouse buildings were destroyed and equipment and vehicles were damaged. In the Kherson direction, Russia continues to shell the area of Kherson and the Antonivsky Bridge. But the Ukrainian armed forces stand their ground and intensively shell Russian positions on the left bank from the right bank. From the Russian side, explosions are also reported. Today, the city of Shebekino in Belgorod region reported shelling. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, take care of yourself and see you next time. Bye bye!